My daughter asked, "Why did we take a taxi? What happened to the car Grandpa bought us?" Before I could answer, my fiance's mom smiled. "That car belongs to my daughter now." My daughter went quiet. My grandfather heard everything from the hallway. What he did next changed everything. My daughter asked, "Daddy, why did we take a taxi? What happened to the car Grandpa bought us?" The question hit me so hard, I actually stopped walking. We were standing under the warm glow of the restaurant's front lights, the kind of place that tries to look classy, family-friendly, with fake plants by the door and soft music spilling onto the sidewalk. I had a bag of fruit in one hand, my stupid peace offering. Like a bowl of grapes could make a blended family dinner go smoothly. Lily stood beside me in her puffy coat, hair tucked behind her ear, eyes wide with the kind of innocent logic that children use to keep the world from falling apart. "We always take the Blue Princess," she added, like she was reminding me of the rules we lived by. "Grandpa said it was for us, for safety." The Blue Princess. That's what she called the car my grandfather had bought after my divorce. An older blue wagon he maintained like it was a vintage collector's item. It wasn't fancy, but it was reliable. It smelled like clean leather and peppermint gum, because Lily liked to tuck candy into the side pockets for emergencies. My throat tightened. I opened my mouth. Because I started, searching for a sentence that wouldn't cut her in half. I didn't get to finish. My fiance's mother, Marilyn, leaned in with a smile that looked sweet from far away and sharp up close. She had perfect hair, perfect nails, and the kind of calm confidence that made people assume she was always right. "Oh, honey," she said, like she was explaining something simple. "That car belongs to my daughter now." The sidewalk felt suddenly smaller. Lily blinked once, then twice. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. I watched her face change, like a light switching off. Not tears, not anger. Quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't belong to a child. My chest tightened so fast, it felt like a hand squeezing my ribs. I dropped the bag of fruit at my feet without meaning to. I'm Bernard. I'm a psychiatrist. I spend my days listening to people describe the moment they learned their needs didn't matter, when they were taught by a parent or a partner to swallow discomfort so everyone else could stay comfortable. And there it was, right in front of me, my daughter learning that lesson in real time. "Lily," I said softly, kneeling, "look at me, sweetheart." She didn't. Behind us, inside the restaurant's hallway, a cane tapped once against the floor. A slow, deliberate sound. Then a voice, low, calm, and strangely controlled, cut through the moment like a blade. "Interesting," it said. That's an interesting thing to say out loud. I turned. My grandfather, Arthur Gray, stood in the doorway, 80-something, thin as a rail, cane in one hand. But his eyes were clear and sharp, the way they used to be when he ran his business, and people tried to negotiate him into giving away what was his. He had heard everything. And what he did next didn't just get our car back, it changed the entire balance of power in my life. After my divorce, I used to tell people I was fine. That's what professionals say when they're not fine. I had a stable job at a hospital clinic. I had an apartment that wasn't too small. I had custody arrangements that looked fair on paper. I had a daughter who tried very hard not to be difficult. My ex-wife Nora and I lasted 7 years. The outside of our marriage was tidy. Holiday photos, joint checking account, polite smiles at neighborhood cookouts. The inside was something else. Nora wanted intensity, spontaneity. She wanted to feel like the world was a movie and she was the main character. I wanted calm, predictability. I wanted Lily to grow up without chaos. At the end, Nora packed a suitcase on a Tuesday morning like she was taking a weekend trip. She kissed Lily on the forehead, kissed me on the cheek like we were distant relatives, and said, "Bernard, you're a good man. You're just too controlled. I want to feel alive again." She left. Lily stayed with me. Nora came around when it was convenient. Some weekends. Some holidays. Sometimes a text at 9:43 p.m. saying she couldn't make it because something came up. Concert tickets. An out-of-town brunch. A work thing. Lily never screamed. She never begged. She just adjusted. That's what worried me most. Kids who adjust too easily often grow into adults who accept too little. My grandfather stepped in quietly, the way he always did when someone in the family tried to pretend everything was fine. Arthur Gray isn't affectionate in the traditional sense. He's not the kind of man who says, I love you casually. He's the kind of man who shows up when it matters and makes sure the problem cannot return. One evening after Nora left, I brought Lily to his house. I was exhausted, sleep deprived, emotionally numb, trying to be two parents at once. Arthur looked at me for a long moment, then set a cup of tea in front of me and said, You're not broken, Bernard. You're depleted. Depleted people need resources. In his mind, resources were tangible: a roof, a steady emergency fund, a reliable vehicle. The next week, he bought a car, a blue wagon, clean title, solid engine, inspected and maintained. He handed me the keys and said, This is for Lily, not for you, for Lily, so she never feels like she's hanging off the edge of your life. Lily loved it immediately. She climbed into the back seat and declared it a royal carriage. She named it the Blue Princess. Every time we got in, she tapped the dashboard twice, her ritual, then buckled her seatbelt and said, Ready, Dad. That car became more than transportation. It was proof that someone in her life would show up consistently. 2 years later, when I thought I'd figured out the rhythm of being a single dad, I met Clara. Clara was magnetic. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made people turn their heads. She worked in real estate, high-end listings, sleek outfits, client dinners. She talked fast and laughed loud and had this way of making me feel like I wasn't just a dad anymore. You're different, she told me on our third date. You're grounded. You're safe. Safe. That word felt like a compliment and a challenge. I introduced Clara to Lily, slowly, carefully, like a clinician introducing a new variable into a delicate system. At first, Clara did everything right. She knelt to Lily's level. She asked about her favorite movies. She brought her little craft kits and let her pick the stickers. One afternoon, Lily handed Clara a drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands. Me, Lily, and Clara. A big heart above us. Clara smiled, kissed Lily's hair, and said, We're going to be friends, okay? I wanted to believe her. Then I met Marilyn, Clara's mother. Marilyn was polite, in the way that always feels like a test. She complimented my job, my apartment, my dedication as a father. She smiled a lot, but her eyes measured everything. She noticed my shoes, my watch, the neighborhood, and the car. The first time she saw the Blue Princess parked out front, she ran her finger along the hood like she was checking the paint. That's yours? She asked. It was my grandfather's gift, I said. For Lily. Marilyn's smile stayed in place while her tone turned just a shade cooler. How sentimental. Older people do love spending money on feelings. I laughed politely, the way you do when you want to keep peace with your future in-laws. That was my first mistake. From there, the comments started. Small at first, like paper cuts. She's very attached to you. You let her interrupt adult conversations. Do you ever think you overcompensate because her mother left? Then Marilyn's favorite subject, resources, began to creep in. You and Clara will be a unit, she said one afternoon over coffee. A family unit. Families combine assets. Your money, her money. Your car, her needs. My car is for Lily, I corrected calmly. Marilyn's eyes flashed, then softened into a smile again. Of course, but Lily is a child. Clara is building a career. You have to prioritize the future. It sounded reasonable if you didn't look too closely. But when you looked closer, it was simple. Marilyn believed Clara should come first in every equation. Everyone else existed to support that. I told myself it was cultural. Personality, overbearing mother. I told myself Clara would keep boundaries with her. Clara didn't. The first time the car disappeared, it happened on a weekday morning. I reached for the keys and found an empty hook. Did you move them? I asked Clara, trying to keep my voice neutral. Lily was at the kitchen table eating cereal, humming. Clara didn't meet my eyes. My mom needed the car today, she said. I have a showing later. It's just easier. Easier for who? I asked. Clara sighed like I was being difficult. It's one day, Bernard. We're a family. One day became 3. Then a week. I started driving Lily to school in reshares. Lily didn't complain, but her questions began to stack up quietly. Is the Blue Princess sick? Did someone borrow her? When is she coming back? I tried to keep my answers simple. Temporary. Adult logistics. But inside, I felt something sour building. When I pushed Clara for a timeline, she snapped. Why are you acting like it's a big deal? It's just a car. It's not just a car, I said. It was given to Lily. And that's when Clara said it, like she'd been holding it back for weeks. You always choose your daughter over us. Over us. As if my child was competition. I stared at her, shocked. Not because I didn't understand jealousy, but because she thought it was acceptable to put that jealousy on an 8-year-old. That night, Lily asked if Clara was mad at her. I told her no. I lied. I told myself I was protecting her from adult conflict. But that was my second mistake. The third mistake was agreeing to Marilyn's family dinner. It'll clear the air, Marilyn said. We'll all talk like adults. We took a taxi because the Blue Princess wasn't in our driveway. And Lily asked her question. After Marilyn's smiling announcement that the car belonged to her daughter now, I felt time slow down in the strangest way. I watched Lily's shoulders tighten. I watched her swallow whatever words she wanted to say. I watched her do the thing kids do when they realize adults are unsafe. Disappear without moving. I stood, my mind splitting into 2 tracks. One clinical, one primal. Clinical. This is a boundary violation. This is emotional harm. Intervene calmly. Primal. How dare you? Marilyn, I said, keeping my voice level. That car does not belong to Clara. Marilyn's smile didn't change. Bernard, she said, like I was slow, Clara needs it more. She's working. She's building. You and Lily can use raid shares. You'll survive. Clara stepped in quickly, voice tense. Mom, not here. Marilyn waved her off. I'm helping. Someone has to bring logic into this. I turned to Clara. Did you know she was going to say that to Lily? Clara's eyes flickered. Not shock, not confusion. Guilt. It hit me like nausea. Clara started, then stopped. Her jaw tightened. Bernard, please, don't make a scene. A scene? I repeated, stunned. My daughter just got told she doesn't own something that was given to her. She just got erased. Lily stayed silent. I crouched beside her again. Careful. Lily, I said softly, you're not in trouble, okay? You did nothing wrong. She finally looked at me, eyes glassy but determined not to cry. She said, It's not ours anymore, Lily whispered. Is it because I'm just a kid? My stomach dropped. I opened my mouth. And that's when the cane tapped again. Closer. Arthur Gray stepped into the entryway light, his posture still proud even with the cane. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush. He simply entered the moment like he owned it. My great-granddaughter, he said calmly, is not a negotiable expense. Marilyn turned, smile tight. Arthur, she said, sugary, you don't understand the practicalities of modern life. Arthur looked at her like she was a stain on a clean shirt. I understand theft, he said pleasantly. Clara went pale. Grandpa Arthur, she tried, voice trembling. This is a misunderstanding. Arthur reached inside his coat and pulled out a slim folder. A neat, organized folder. Of course he did. Arthur loved order. He held it up. Bernard, he said to me, I didn't buy that vehicle and hand it over without protection. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Marilyn's expression sharpened. What is that? Paperwork, Arthur said. The kind that makes manipulation expensive. He opened the folder and spoke with terrifying calm. That car was not titled in Bernard's name. Clara's mouth dropped open. And it was not titled in Lily's name directly either, Arthur continued, because children can't hold property the way adults do. Marilyn's smile strained. So who is it titled to? Arthur glanced at Lily and softened for 1 second. It's titled to a trust, he said, for Lily Gray. A child trust. Silence snapped into place like a locked door. Arthur continued, voice steady, every word a nail. The trust states the vehicle is for Lily's care and Bernard's use exclusively for her needs. Any attempt to transfer ownership, claim it, or use it outside those terms triggers legal action and financial penalties. Marilyn's face lost its color. You can't. Oh, I can, Arthur said, and I already spoke with my attorney. Earlier today, Clara's head whipped toward her mother. Mom, what did you do? Marilyn's voice rose slightly, defensive now. I did what I had to do. Clara deserves stability. She needs a reliable car for her job. Bernard has a salary. He can handle taxis. Arthur tapped his cane once, a sharp punctuation. You stole from a child, he said simply. Then you smiled while you told her. Marilyn tried to recover her sweetness. Arthur, don't be dramatic. It's not stealing. It's family resources. Arthur's eyes narrowed. No, he said. Family resources are shared with consent. This was taken by entitlement. He looked directly at Marilyn, then at Clara. Here is what happens next, Arthur said. Tonight, the vehicle is returned to Bernard's residence. Keys on the counter, no delays, no excuses. Marilyn inhaled sharply. You can't order us. Arthur raised a hand, still calm. Yes, I can. Because if it isn't returned, my attorney files the paperwork in the morning. The trust's terms are clear, and the penalties are not small. Clara's voice cracked. Bernard, please, this is getting out of hand. I stared at her, stunned by what she wasn't seeing. This isn't out of hand, I said quietly. This is the hand you tried to play. Lily stood very still, holding my fingers. Her grip was tight. Daddy, she whispered, I don't want to be here. I looked down at her and made a decision so clean it felt like stepping onto solid ground after months of walking on ice. We're leaving, I said. Clara stepped toward me, panic spilling out now. You're really going to end everything over a car? I held her gaze. This isn't about the car, I said. It's about my daughter being told by an adult that she doesn't matter. Marilyn scoffed. She's a child. She'll forget. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not into rage, but into clarity. She won't, I said calmly, and I won't let her learn to accept this. Arthur stepped closer behind us, positioning himself like a barrier. Take Lily home, he told me. I'll finish this. Clara's voice climbed higher. Bernard, don't do this. My mom didn't mean it like that. She's trying to help. I looked at Clara, really looked at her, and saw the truth. She wasn't protecting Lily. She was protecting her mother's control. I took Lily's hand and started walking toward the curb. Lily didn't look back. Behind us, Marilyn's voice rose into that righteous, outraged pitch manipulators use when they realize their tricks aren't working. Clara sobbed. Someone inside the restaurant pretended not to notice. Arthur stood in the doorway like a locked gate, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't felt since my divorce. Protection. Not from me, but for me. At home, Lily kicked off her shoes and curled into a ball on the couch. Not the dramatic kind of curl, the quiet kind. The kind that says, I'm trying to make myself smaller so nobody wants to take from me. I made hot cocoa the way she liked. Extra whipped cream. Cinnamon dusted on top. I turned on her favorite cartoon. I did all the normal things because normal routines help a kid's nervous system remember it's safe. But Lily didn't laugh. She didn't even really watch. So I sat beside her. Lily, I said gently, I want you to hear me clearly, okay? She looked at me with exhausted eyes. You did nothing wrong. Her voice was tiny. Why did she say that? Like she can just take it. I swallowed. I wanted to say, because some people are selfish. I wanted to say, because she's mean. But kids don't need labels. They need structure. Some adults, I said carefully, believe that if they want something badly enough, they can call it necessary and take it. But that's not how it works. We have rules, and we have respect. Lily stared down at her cocoa. She said, it belongs to Clara now. It doesn't, I said firmly. It never did. Lily's eyes filled, and she blinked them back hard. I thought maybe I'm not part of the new family, she whispered. My throat closed. I pulled her into my arms. You are the center of my family, I said. You are not a bonus. You are not a problem. You are my daughter. Lily's body shook once, and then she cried quietly into my shirt, the controlled cry of a child who's learned that big feelings make adults uncomfortable. I held her until her breathing slowed. After she fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at the empty hook where the car keys should have been. I'm trained to see patterns. I'm trained to notice what people normalize. And I realized, with a cold clarity, that I had been normalizing disrespect because I wanted the illusion of peace. My phone buzzed at 6:58 a.m. the next morning. "Arthur, they'll try to bargain," he said without greeting. "They'll try to make you feel guilty. Don't let them." "What did you say to them?" I asked. "I didn't say much," Arthur replied. "I let them understand consequences." There was a pause. Then he added, quieter, "Bernard, I'm proud of you for leaving. I shouldn't have had to step in, but I will, every time, if it's for Lily." Shame burned in my chest. I should have handled it, I admitted. Arthur's voice stayed calm. "You're learning," he said. "Just learn faster than I did." That afternoon, Clara came to my apartment alone. She stood outside my door with red eyes and shaky hands, like someone who'd been up all night trying to figure out how to reverse time. "I didn't want it to happen like that," she said immediately. "My mom, she pushes, she always has, she thinks she knows best." I nodded slowly. "I believe you," I said. Relief flashed across her face. Then I continued, "But you still went along with it." Clara swallowed hard. "I thought you'd understand," she whispered. "I thought you'd compromise?" "Compromise with theft?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "Compromise with humiliating my child?" Clara's eyes flashed with anger, defensive now. "It wasn't humiliation. It was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding is forgetting someone's birthday," I said. "Not telling a child her car belongs to someone else." Clara's shoulders rose and fell with a sharp breath. "I love you," she said. "I love Lily too. My mom gets in my head." I held her gaze. "Then you need to get your mom out of your head," I said, "before you bring her into my home." Clara stepped forward, reaching for me like proximity could fix what choices broke. "Please don't end this," she pleaded. "We're supposed to get married." I felt the old instinct, the one that wants to smooth things over, to avoid conflict, to be reasonable. Then I pictured Lily going quiet on the sidewalk, and my decision hardened. "I can't marry someone who treats my daughter like an obstacle," I said. Clara's mouth opened, then shut. Tears spilled. "You're making me the villain," she whispered. "No," I said gently. "You're making yourself a victim, and I won't participate in that." Clara's face twisted in pain. "What do you want from me?" she demanded. "The truth," I said. "Did you know your mom was going to claim the car like that?" Clara hesitated. That hesitation answered everything. "I didn't know she'd say it to Lily," Clara admitted, voice barely audible. "But I knew she felt entitled. I thought it would all smooth over. Smooth over! Like Lily's feelings were an inconvenience that could be ironed flat." I stepped back. "Give me your key," I said. Clara stared at me. "My key? The apartment key," I clarified. Her hand shook as she pulled it from her keyring and placed it in my palm. It felt heavier than metal. It felt like the end of a story I'd tried too hard to force into a happy shape. "And the car?" I asked. Clara flinched. "It's at my mom's," she whispered. "She won't give it up easily." "Then she'll give it up legally," I said. Clara's voice rose. "You're really doing this? You're really choosing?" "My daughter?" I finished, calm as stone. "Yes. Every time." Clara's eyes filled with rage and grief, tangled together. "You're going to regret this," she spat, then immediately looked like she hated herself for saying it. I nodded once. "Maybe," I said, "but Lily won't." Clara left without another word. That evening, Arthur called again. "The car will be returned within 48 hours, he said. "Marilyn is furious, which means she understands." "Are you okay?" I asked. Arthur chuckled dry. "I've been called worse by better people," he said. "How's Lily?" "She's quieter than usual," I admitted. "She will be," Arthur said, "but she watched you leave. She watched you choose her. That matters more than any speech you could give." 2 days later, The blue princess was returned. It was parked in our spot like nothing happened. Clean, shiny, freshly vacuumed. Like Marilyn thought she could erase the theft with a detailing job. Lily walked down the stairs with me and stopped at the bottom. She stared at the car like it was a person who had been gone too long. Then she walked up slowly, reached out, and touched the door handle. "It smells different," she said. I opened the door and inhaled. A strong perfume. Something expensive. Something that didn't belong. "Yeah," I said quietly, "but we can fix that." So we cleaned it together. We wiped down the dashboard, the steering wheel, the seatbelts. Lily insisted on cleaning the back seat, because that's where the princess sits. She scrubbed the cup holder like it had personally offended her. It wasn't about dirt. It was about reclaiming. When we finished, Lily climbed into the back seat, buckled her seatbelt, and whispered, "Hi, princess. You're home." I sat behind the wheel, blinking hard, because I finally understood something I should have understood sooner. Objects aren't always objects. Sometimes they're promises. A month later, I was in my office when a patient asked me something that felt like a mirror held up to my face. "How do I know I'm not selfish for setting boundaries?" he asked. "My family says I'm cold. They say I've changed." I leaned back in my chair and thought of Lily's silence on that sidewalk. Then I said, with absolute clarity, selfish is taking what isn't yours and calling it normal. A boundary is protecting what matters and calling it respect. The patient nodded slowly, eyes watering. Later that day, I picked Lily up from school. She ran to the Blue Princess and tapped the door twice. Her ritual. Her confirmation that the world was still steady. She climbed in, buckled up, and sighed like she could finally breathe. As I drove, the late afternoon sun spilled across the dashboard. Lily watched the trees blur past the window. "Daddy?" she said quietly. "Yeah, kiddo." "Is Clara mad at me?" My grip tightened on the steering wheel. "No," I said, honest in the way that mattered most. "Clara made choices, and those choices weren't about you. They were about her." Lily was silent for a moment, then asked the question I didn't expect. "Are you sad?" I swallowed. "Yes," I admitted. "I'm sad that I didn't see it sooner. I'm sad that you got hurt." Lily nodded like she understood sadness better than she should. Then she said, "But you left. You didn't make me stay." My throat tightened. "That's right," I said. "Because you don't stay where people make you smaller." Lily leaned her cheek against the window. "Will Great-Grandpa always protect us?" she asked. I smiled, but my eyes burned. "He will," I said. "But listen, I will too." Lily turned and looked at me. "Serious? Promise?" I didn't hesitate. "I promise," I said, "even if it's uncomfortable. Even if people get mad. Even if someone smiles while they do something cruel. I will always choose you." Lily nodded once, like she was filing it away in the safe part of her brain. That night, after she fell asleep, I texted Arthur, "Thank you." Then, after a pause, "I should have drawn the line sooner." Arthur replied a minute later, as if he'd been waiting. "You drew it when it mattered. Now keep it." Weeks passed. The fallout settled like dust. Marilyn sent a long message full of passive-aggressive phrases. "I hope Lily grows up kinder than you. I never meant harm. Families share." I didn't respond. Clara called twice. I didn't answer. The third time, she left a voicemail. Her voice was small, stripped of its confidence. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't realize how much I let my mom control me. I didn't realize I was becoming her. I listened, then deleted it. Not because people can't change, but because Lily shouldn't have to be collateral damage while adults learn basic decency." One day, something unexpected happened. Nora, my ex-wife, texted me, heard about the engagement ending, then, after a minute, "Thank you for always putting Lily first." I didn't. And you did. I stared at the message for a long time, not with triumph, not with anger, with quiet acceptance. Because sometimes life doesn't give you neat apologies or perfect endings. Sometimes it gives you a moment where you either protect your child or you protect the illusion of peace. And that night outside the restaurant, I finally chose correctly. Lily still rides in the back seat like royalty. She still keeps emergency candy in the side pocket. She still taps the dashboard twice before we drive. But now, when she does it, her shoulders don't tighten. Her eyes don't scan for danger. She looks safe. And that's the part nobody talks about when they say, it's just a car. It was never just a car. It was a test of whether I would let someone rewrite my daughter's worth with a smile, of whether I would keep being the agreeable man who absorbs disrespect to keep the room calm, or whether I would become the kind of father my daughter could trust. My grandfather heard everything from a hallway. What he did changed everything. But what I did next mattered too. I kept the boundary. And Lily learned a lesson she deserved to learn early. People who love you don't take from you and call it family. They protect you, especially when it costs them something.